Mr. Damron, what do you see as the greatest need for the 39th district?
Well, I think we have to continue to focus on bringing jobs into the district. We've worked really hard the last couple of years with Mayor Rainwater and Mayor Meyer and Judge Cassidy, along with the economic development directors here and in the area, along with the state. We're continuing to see where the state can help the district provide additional jobs. Part of that is bringing in good infrastructure, which is the US 68 completion of the road, trying to get the eastern bypass up and running and completed. I think the streetscape that we funded for Nicholasville will be helpful in that manner as well. But job creation has to be job one here.
I think the 39th district definitely needs more jobs, and that would be probably job number one in Frankfort. I agree that what we need is the I-75 bypass to help bring more jobs into the Nicholasville area and certainly the whole county. And we also need to consider carefully how we are recruiting businesses to come to our area. It seems like we are just waiting for people to call us. And what we should be doing is looking for good fits and matches and trying to recruit them. That's what happens in the modern world. You can't just sit around waiting. I'd love to see some good things like maybe Costco or a Super Target in Brandon Crossing. I'd love to see a lot of different developments in different places that could really help move this area forward. So I think job one is indeed job creation. One thing that I want to point out is that my opponent actually tried to pass a bill that would hurt basically businesses that were going out of, that were hurting, that didn't make money in a year. He tried to pass a budget that would raise their taxes by suspending a tax exemption. I think that would have actually killed jobs, even here locally.
What specific things do you think the General Assembly can do to solve the state budget crisis?
The state budget crisis is obviously pretty serious. My opponent actually tried to raise the debt by $1.2 billion this year. He co-sponsored House Bill 530, and he also was trying to raise taxes by $300 million, though he says it was suspending a tax exemption. I think that growing the debt is the worst thing you can do. So the first thing we have to do is actually pass some policies that are going to help us rein in the spending and rein in our own House of Representatives. What I'd like to see is a bill that basically encourages people in the House to behave themselves by saying that if they pass a budget that is not balanced, they get docked in their pay. 20-30% seems fair to me because they're not doing their jobs. Now, as far as actually specific policies to bring in money, I think we need to support different businesses. We should create a committee that actually is for entrepreneurship in the state. It could support people like Alltech and some of the good things that they're doing in different financial areas. I think that basically we can let the government help the financial system rather than being a burden all the time to them. So I think the main thing is stop the spending.
What specific things do you think the General Assembly can do to solve the state budget crisis?
Well, first off, the state has to pass a balanced budget. And Peter, I know you're not familiar with the state, but we have passed a balanced budget. We've had to go back into Frankfort the last 3 years in a special session to make further cuts. We've cut over $2.5 billion out of the state budget today. Those cuts are very, very difficult to make. They impact people that receive services. They impact people that receive the various benefits, the public safety aspects of it. And so you notice he didn't tell you anything he was going to do as far as how he was going to balance the budget because he really doesn't know. We have done a lot of things in this state to set up entrepreneur programs. We've got the new technology programs that are in place to recruit high-tech firms into the state. The Economic Development Cabinet has actually been working on those. House Bill 3, which was in the 2009 session, had specific targeted tax incentives and incentive programs for small business to create small business jobs. Small businesses create jobs in the state, just like the ribbon cutting we had yesterday for the new Nissan dealership that moved into town. The county actually has brought in a lot of new jobs. You know, we brought Sam's Club in, which was about 300 jobs. And so I think we're making a lot of movement in bringing those jobs in. But the state is facing budget crisis, and we're going to have a difficult time over the next 2 years. But we've already cut $2.5 billion.
In regards to the I-75 connector and the eastern bypass, how will these projects be funded, and how realistic is it that they will be completed in the next 10 years?
Well, the I-75 connector is funded currently with $16 million, which I put into the budget from the federal funding. The transportation program has a series of funding streams. The I-75 connector is in the design and scoping work study at this point in time. That's where they're going to go out and they'll look for archaeological issues and design issues, and then beginning the design of the river crossing of the bridge. That is coming from federal funds. The state gets a pot of federal money, and then the legislature decides how that federal money is decided. The Eastern Bypass, if it wasn't for the Fletcher administration, we'd be a lot further along than what we are right now. But in the last budget cycle, we funded the Eastern Bypass again with federal dollars, which are certain guaranteed dollars to buy all the right-of-way and to finish the engineering work for the Eastern Bypass. That will be done over the next 2 years. If I'm reelected, I'm back in leadership. I'll be at the table when those decisions are made. My opponent will not be. He'll be a freshman member of the minority party. Those two projects are both in serious trouble if I'm not there. And I'm going to be a focus on making sure that both of those projects are funded. I've been the driving focus to keep those projects in the budget during this budget cycle. They are funded with solid dollars. I think the Eastern Bypass will be built within the next 6 years. Construction completed where we're driving on it, and I think the I-75 connector will have to follow that process.
I agree with my opponent when it comes to how they're going to be funded. Of course, he knows the details, and I'm very appreciative for his work and efforts on this. The $16 million, like you mentioned, is there, and the one thing that I would say is that he says in one hand that the funds are there, that there's solid dollars, and on the other hand he says that we need him there in order to gain those. One thing that we need to realize is that we will get the money that we need for our area, whether he's elected or I'm elected. We actually have two senior statesmen. One is Senator Tom Buford, and he even is more senior than Mr. Damron. And I believe that I can work very well with Tom Buford to make sure that our area gets what it deserves in its own money back to it. So I don't think I'm not worried about making sure that Jessamine County can get what it needs. And as he said, some of the dollars, it's already there, it's already moving forward. So I'm pretty sure it will be done in the next 10 years. I don't think, however, that we need to have politics as they've always been in the past, where everybody goes to Frankfurt, just tries to grab a bigger piece of the economic pie for themselves. What we need to do is change politics and incentivize people to stay within the budget. And specifically, I think what we should do is have a rule that the House considers, at least for a week or two, not the budget, but how can we grow the economic pie for everyone in the state. We've got to come up with creative ways to actually ensure that we do not continue to have a budget that's not balanced. I do realize that we have a law saying that the budget has to be balanced. It then becomes balanced by bond debt, which my opponent, of course, works at Ross and Sinclair, and they profit from that kind of bonded debt. And I just think we need to not do bonded debt at all. What we need to do is balance our budget in the first place.
Question number 4. How long can the state afford to fund the current retirement system, and how do you propose to fix it?
Yeah, the current state retirement system is certainly an anchor that's around the neck of our government. As a matter of fact, if you want to take it one step further, October 4th, 24/7 Wall Street released a report that rated Kentucky as the worst-run government in the United States. And what's really appalling about that is California, bankrupt California, actually rated 49th, one ahead of us. My opponent may not be part of the problem, but he's certainly not part of the solution. He's been there for 18 years. It's his policies that have created this type of debt and this problem that we have with retirement. I think something serious has to happen, and I hope that what we'll do is figure out ways to be inventive, bring in more business, and build that economic pie. I do contracted work with Alltech and other gems in Jessamine that actually have some great ideas on how we can actually build the economy in Jessamine County and in Kentucky at large. One of their ideas is a biorefinery to convert switchgrass into ethanol. We need to let the free market work, and we need to let the free market work for us, and we need to build that economic pie. I don't think there's a good solution without actually having more revenue.
Well, the state retirement system is two components. The first component is the people that were already on the state retirement system prior to about 2006. In 2006, the General Assembly made some pretty strong changes to the retirement system, changed the retirement system for people that were coming into the system new. The courts have ruled that you have an inviolable contract with everyone else who's currently in the system. We then also, in 2006, entered into a process of where we're putting more money into the retirement system every year. Part of the problem with the retirement system has been its investments and how the retirement system is actually investing those funds. The legislature is looking very hard and very closely at the investment policies of Kentucky retirement systems, making sure that they don't have inside deals that are going on that are costing the retirement system funds. The retirement system lost a tremendous amount of money in the Bush recession that just happened, with a lot of people lost their money in. And that's really further compacted the issue. As far as debt, my opponent talks about Ross Sinclair. Ross Sinclair does zero bonded indebtedness for the state of Kentucky. You can call Secretary Miller, his finance cabinet, he'll tell you that. They don't do any bond issues for the state. They don't do any selling of the bonds through their process. They're not senior managers or anything of that nature. So that's kind of a red herring. Focus on the retirement system, though, is that we do owe our retirees the benefits we promised them, and we're going to continue to do that.